Another terrible Friday in Chicago.
You're fired!
My warehouse boss had yelled at me in front of the entire shift because I was late. The subway had stopped for 45 minutes due to a medical emergency that nobody explained, and I had to walk 8 blocks in the freezing November rain. When I got to my apartment in Pilsen, the landlord had left the 3rd eviction notice taped to the door with duct tape. And Rachel, the receptionist at the gym I only went to see her, had shown me her diamond ring. Jake finally made up his mind, she said radiantly. I forced a smile while something broke in my chest. With my last $25, I bought a 6-pack of cheap beer at the 7-Eleven. The only thing waiting for me at home was an old Xbox and late-night shows that nobody watches. At least the alcohol would help me forget that I'm 34 years old, living in a hole with leaky ceilings, and have been unemployed for 4 months. I took a shortcut through the alley behind the abandoned textile factory building, a place where addicts gathered after midnight. But at 9 in the evening, it was usually empty. I was halfway through when the flash lit up the entire alley. It wasn't lightning. It was something else, as if a fragment of sun had fallen next to the rusty dumpsters. The blast knocked me to the ground, the 6-pack burst, and the beer spilled, forming rivers among the debris. When the ringing in my ears subsided enough, I heard a moan that didn't sound human. I approached staggering, with scraped knees and bleeding palms. I saw her then, a woman lying among garbage bags with 2 enormous white wings sprouting from her back. The feathers were scorched at the edges as if they had passed through a giant flame. Her white dress, torn and stained with soot, revealed pale skin that glowed slightly under the light of the only working streetlight. When she looked up, her green eyes seemed to contain their own light, like those LED lights that hurt if you look at them directly. "Human," she murmured. Her voice sounded like distant bells, melodious but weak. "Help me. My name is Daniel Cross, 34 years old, computer, network, technician. Fired 4 months ago when the company declared bankruptcy. No girlfriend for 3 years, since Jennifer decided I didn't have enough ambition. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with mold on the walls and a refrigerator that only contains old condiments and 2 warm beers. My parents stopped talking to me when I dropped out of college to work. My rent is 2 months overdue. My therapist discharged me because I could no longer afford the $150 sessions. That night, like so many others, I had gone out to buy cheap beers. My only plan was to drink until I fell asleep in front of reruns of shows I didn't even remember. And now, a fallen angel was asking me for help. I lifted her with difficulty. She weighed less than she appeared, but the wings were like carrying 2 extra people, heavy and real, and definitely not an out-of-season Halloween costume. She folded them against her back when she saw I couldn't maneuver through the narrow stairs of my building. Each step left a trail of white feathers stained with soot. "What are you?" I asked as we climbed to the 3rd floor. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my temples. "My name is Seraphine," she said in a weak voice. Was a throne, an angelic order, 3rd hierarchy." She winced when her shoulder brushed the hallway wall. "I watched over the eastern constellations." "And what are you doing here? Why did you fall?" "I didn't fall," she replied. Her green eyes looked at me with an intensity that made me stumble on the last step. "I jumped. I I simply took her to my apartment. I placed her on my unmade bed, the gray sheets I hadn't washed for 2 weeks. I searched for the first aid kit I had under the sink, as if Band-Aids and isopropyl alcohol could heal a celestial being. Seraphine rejected my clumsy attempts with an elegant gesture of her hand. Instead, she observed my apartment with almost scientific curiosity, as if studying a particularly interesting terrarium. "I can't go back," she finally said. "My fall, my jump, wasn't an accident." "Did they expel you?" I asked, vaguely, remembering biblical stories from my Catholic childhood. Catechism classes I hated on Sunday mornings. I rebelled. Her eyes gleamed with something like pride. I questioned direct orders. "Now I'm a celestial outcast." "Welcome to the club," I muttered, offering her a beer that she ignored with a gesture of repulsion. "I need temporary refuge," she continued. Her wings fluttered nervously, knocking over a lamp from my nightstand. "They will look for me. When an angel deserts, they send collectors." "Was collectors?" "Angels specialized in capturing deserters." She shuddered, and it was strange to see fear in something so powerful. "They're not kind. They don't negotiate, they only follow orders." "And why should I help you?" I asked, dropping onto the worn couch. "I already have enough problems. I'm 1 week away from living on the street." Seraphine looked at me directly. Something in that celestial gaze went through me like an electric current. "Because I can return the favor. I know things, Daniel. I know how terrestrial systems work, codes, networks. I can help you get your life back." "How do you know my name?" "I never told you." She smiled for the first time, and it was like watching the sun rise. "I'm a fallen angel, not a blind angel." The first week was an awkward adjustment. Seraphine slept in my bed while I occupied the couch that had a broken spring that dug into my ribs. Her scorched wings began to heal day by day, recovering their impossible whiteness. The fallen feathers disappeared into the air like smoke after a few hours. I found it impossible not to look at her. Her beauty was not human. It was not of this world. She had something hypnotic, almost painful to observe. Like looking directly at a work of art you know you can never touch. One night, while I was searching for work online without success, responding to ads that required experience I didn't have or degrees I had abandoned, she approached my laptop. "Let me," she said gently, pushing me aside with surprisingly warm fingers. Her hands flew over the keyboard with supernatural speed. Codes appeared and disappeared. Windows opened and closed. Programs I didn't even know existed ran in cascades of data. In 2 hours, she had hacked 3 corporate databases and transferred money to a new account in my name. An account she had created at a bank in the Cayman Islands using my information, but falsified identities. "What the hell have you done?" I asked, horrified, looking at the screen showing a balance of $185,000. "I haven't stolen," she clarified. Her green eyes gleamed with something like satisfaction. "These companies defraud millions in taxes annually. I've taken from them what they already owed society. That's still a federal crime. The IRS doesn't accept philosophical justifications. And what they do isn't." Her wings fluttered with frustration. "Angels watch over cosmic balance, Daniel. That's why I jumped. Because the balance is completely broken and nobody up there wants to fix it. Everyone looks the other way." I looked at the screen. $185,000. Enough to pay debts, back rent, start over, maybe take night classes and finish my degree. "This money comes with a price," I said. "Everything does." "Everything in life has a price," she replied. "The only question is whether you're willing to pay it." Do you take control of your destiny or continue being a victim of circumstances? The window glass shattered 3 days later. We were eating Chinese takeout, the first decent thing I had eaten in weeks, when a being dressed entirely in metallic gray flew in. Its wings were not feathers, but articulated metal plates that emitted a sound like knives rubbing together. Its eyes were completely white, without iris or pupil, glowing with their own light. Seraphine, deserter throne. Its voice sounded like radio static, inhuman and cold. Your judgment awaits you in the celestial halls. Seraphine moved with supernatural speed, pushing me toward the hallway while facing the intruder. The collector drew something from the palm of its hand, a dagger of pure white light that hummed with energy. "Run!" Seraphine shouted. I didn't run. Instead, I grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter and lunged at the invader. The blade bounced off its metallic skin as if hitting solid steel. It hit me with the back of its hand, without even looking at me, sending me against the wall. The impact left me breathless, my ribs screaming with pain. Seraphine took advantage of the distraction to attack. Her wings, now fully healed, glowed with their own light. She grabbed the collector, and both crashed into my table, into the television, destroying everything in my small living room. The collector was stronger, its movements precise and mechanical. But Seraphine was faster, more desperate. She dodged several attacks from the light dagger that left burning cuts in the air. I crawled toward the kitchen with my ribs burning. I found the fire extinguisher the landlord had forced me to buy to comply with fire code. I discharged it directly into the attacker's face. Its vision blocked by the chemical foam, it stumbled backward. Seraphine pulled something from the folds of her white dress, a small crystal vial that glowed with golden light like liquid honey. She threw it against the collector's chest. Upon impact, the crystal released a luminous liquid that enveloped the celestial being. The collector screamed, a sound like tearing metal that made my ears bleed. In seconds, it became a statue of ash that crumbled onto my stained carpet. "What was that?" I asked, panting, still clutching the empty extinguisher. "Concentrated stellar essence," she replied, also agitated, with a wound on her cheek, bleeding a golden liquid. "Did you kill it?" "Not exactly. I returned it to its basic form, but the signal has already been sent. They'll return, and in greater numbers. We have to leave now." We gathered the essentials in 5 minutes. Clothes, my laptop, the cash I had withdrawn as a precaution. Seraphine stole a Honda Civic from the parking lot with a simple touch to the alarm system, her fingers glowing with that golden light while the wires reconnected according to her will. As we drove aimlessly on Highway Y90, she finally told me the complete truth. "I'm not simply a rebel angel, Daniel. I'm a fugitive with classified information." "What information?" The speedometer read 85 miles per hour. Chicago's lights were disappearing in the rearview mirror. "The end times won't be like the sacred texts say. There will be no final judgment for the righteous. There will be no paradise, only programmed extinction." "Oh, what are you talking about?" I laughed nervously, but the sound came out hollow. "You sound like a celestial conspiracy theorist." "The system is corrupt, Daniel. Human souls don't ascend to paradise after death. They are consumed as fuel." Her hands gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles glowed. "Energy to keep the celestial machinery running. That's why I jumped. I discovered the truth and refused to continue participating in the farm." "Farm?" "Humanity is livestock for them, renewable fuel." Her intensity scared me. Or perhaps what scared me more was starting to believe her. Each soul contains energy they harvest. That's why they never intervene in wars, in famines, in pandemics. The more who die, the more energy they collect. And what do you expect to do alone against all of heaven? I'm not alone. She looked at me as she took the exit toward a roadside motel. I have this. She pulled a small crystal from her pocket. It glowed with a golden light that seemed to absorb the surroundings, create shadows where there shouldn't be any. The air around it vibrated. The key of Metatron. With this, we can rewrite the original cosmic agreement, change the fundamental rules. Why did you help me then? The money, the hacking? Why? Because I needed to gain your trust first. Her gaze softened, becoming almost human. And because you reminded me of what I'm trying to save. Imperfect beings who keep fighting against all odds, who keep searching for meaning in chaos. We hid at the Motel 6 on Route 94. Seraphine showered, while I examined the crystal she had left on the sticky nightstand. A monumental mistake. When I touched it out of curiosity, a current of images invaded my mind like a tornado of information. I saw the truth. Seraphine was not a savior. She was a cosmic thief. The crystal would not rewrite any agreement. It would destroy the dimensional barrier between planes of existence. The resulting chaos would release the ancient beings exiled before the creation of the universe, entities that made angels look like children, playing with matches. The bathroom door opened. Seraphine looked at me, water dripping from her black hair that now seemed darker, more ancient. Her green eyes no longer seemed kind. They seemed hungry. "You've seen it?" she said. It wasn't a question. "You lied to me about everything." I backed away, moving away from the crystal as if it burned. You don't want to save humanity. You want to destroy everything. Destruction is necessary for reconstruction, she argued, approaching. Her wings unfolded, filling the small room. The current system is rotten to its foundations. It can't be repaired. But your solution isn't to repair it. It's to replace it with absolute chaos. With freedom, she corrected. Her eyes now glowed with that unnatural green. Without rules imposed by celestial tyrants. Without soul farm. Without control. And how many will die in that transition? Millions? Billions? Everyone dies eventually anyway. At least this would give them choice. Her voice had lost all warmth. Choice not to be livestock. At that moment, I understood that what I had in front of me was no longer an angel, not even a fallen angel. It was something more ancient, something that had stolen the angelic form for its purposes, something that had been trapped long before humans walked the earth. "I won't let you do it," I said, with a courage I didn't feel. Her laughter was like breaking glass. "You, a failed human, without home or purpose, what can you do against me?" I threw the crystal to the floor with all my strength. It didn't break, of course not. It rolled to her feet, as if mocking my pathetic attempt. Seraphine moved with impossible speed, her wings fully extended, filling the room. Her eyes now completely white, like the collector's. She grabbed me by the neck, lifting me, my feet dangling in the air. The pressure on my throat was unbearable. "You could have had it all," she hissed, with a voice that no longer sounded human, that contained multiple tones. "I offered you power. I offered you purpose. I offered you escape from your miserable life. You offered lies," I managed to say while suffocating. Black dots danced in my vision. Her grip loosened slightly. I saw doubt in her eyes, or maybe I was just imagining what I wanted to see because I was running out of oxygen. "Not all angels are like her," said a new voice. At the motel door stood another winged being. Unlike Seraphine, Its wings were black as midnight, with dark violet reflections. Its face was stern, masculine, with a scar crossing its left eyebrow. It wore a long black coat that moved without wind. "Samael," Seraphine murmured, releasing me. I fell to the floor, coughing, gasping for air desperately. "The crystal, human," said the newcomer with a deep voice. "Give it to me now." I picked it up from the floor with trembling hands. I felt its power vibrating against my fingers, tempting and terrible. "Don't do it, Daniel," Seraphine pleaded. Her voice had recovered some of its former tone. "He's like the others. He'll use you and then discard you like trash." "She's not a fallen angel," Samael explained without entering the room. "She's an ancient that consumed the essence of a true angel eons ago. She's manipulated you from the beginning. Every word was a lie." I looked at Seraphine, searching for truth in her eyes. For an instant, just a blink, I saw something inhuman behind them. Something with too many eyes, with mouths twisting like black smoke. Something that had never been celestial. "Choose wisely, Daniel Cross," Samael said. "But choose quickly." I made my decision. I handed the crystal to Samael. Seraphine screamed, a sound not of this world, that broke the motel windows and activated car alarms in the parking lot. She lunged toward us, but Samael raised the crystal. A blinding golden light enveloped Seraphine, who writhed as her form changed. For an instant I saw her true nature, a being of many eyes and open mouths, tentacles of black smoke writhing, screaming in languages no human should know. Then, absolute silence. The motel room was destroyed, broken glass everywhere, overturned furniture, but Seraphine had disappeared. "Thank you, Daniel Cross," Samael said, storing the crystal in his coat. His black wings folded elegantly. Few humans would have had the courage to choose correctly. "What will happen now?" My voice sounded hoarse. My neck burned where she had grabbed me. "You'll return to your life. My pathetic existence." I laughed bitterly. "No job? No home? Now probably hunted by police for the stolen car." "A human life is never pathetic," he replied. Something in his stern tone softened. "It's brief, yes. Full of pain sometimes, but every decision you make matters more than you imagine. Like yours tonight. You saved more than you can comprehend. Will you erase my memory?" "No." Samael headed to the destroyed door. "Some humans need to know there's more beyond the visible. To remind them that their choices have real weight in the cosmos." He extended his black wings with violet reflections, and with a movement that distorted the air like heat waves, disappeared. I returned to my destroyed apartment in Chicago 3 days later. The police had closed the place with yellow tape, but nobody arrested me. In fact, they acted as if nothing had happened. On my table, magically repaired, I found a business card from a cybersecurity company and a job offer letter as senior analyst. Salary, $95,000 annually. Start date, next week. Next to it, a single black feather with violet reflections. I lost an angel that turned out to be a demon, but perhaps I gained something more important. The certainty that even someone like me, a 34-year-old failure without direction, can change the fate of the universe with a simple choice. And that, I discovered, is worth more than all the stolen money in the world.